families. So it's like, why would you not
Yeah,
just take advantage of it? You're
exactly.
there anyway.
You coming to watch your
You're
kids.
sitting wasting an hour of your life just to sit like do nothing.
Could be
Most of them like
training.
are on their phone. It's like, just why not just train?
Yeah, I think that's why it works at Henzo because I've got the kids class and that other mat where the parents are training pretty
Exactly.
much at the same time. They're doing a fundamentals and a kids class.
Mhm.
It's a great
I mean,
structure.
that's kind of like what we try to do with the beginners program,
Mm,
and then the kids class at the same time.
mm,
We've got that boxing class and then the jiu-jitsu class.
mm.
It's amazing how many parents don't take advantage of it. They just sit there.
It's like it's intimidating for them, or they think this is just a kid's activity, or they're too old, or
Yeah. I mean, I
yeah.
think that's like just common in general, like in martial arts or in training.
Or any sports. I mean, people go and watch their kids do athletics, but then not do it themselves,
Mhm.
or they'd watch their kid do rugby, but then not do it themselves.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the blocker stopping you from doing something?
Yeah. I like I never really understand it. Like, um, people that are so like like not hard, I want to say, but so encouraging of their kids, which is awesome to do sports and physical activity, but then they
Mm,
don't.
mm,
And it's just like, I know that if I don't do something, my kid will never do it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
or he'll do it to like make me happy, but not because he actually wants to do it. He'll
yeah.
do it because I'm doing it.
And I think with jiu-jitsu, there's so much value in from like so many reasons. A parent or a father or a mother doing jiu-jitsu with their kid, even if they're not doing it with them in the same class, but participating in the same sport, because then they understand. The parent
Yeah,
then understands. It's actually not that easy
no.
when, especially for parents that are really pushing their kids very hard to do well, and they think, oh, why didn't they just pull the arm across the
Yeah,
body like
yeah.
that? It just
Why
looks
don't
so
you just get
easy.
up,
Just go for the arm
get
bar,
on
like
top?
get on top. It's so easy. But only once they actually do the sport themselves, they realize, damn, this is actually not that easy. And then they take their foot off the accelerator a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I see it now because obviously my oldest does wrestling, and you see how enthusiastic the parents are um, with the wrestling and how like into it they are and how they push the kids. Um, but none of them wrestle
They don't
or
even
any
do it
martial art.
themselves.
So it is quite a crazy thing, and like that's kind of like why I like to not be a part of the coaching of my kid
Mm,
because I know how I am. I'm like super competitive. So like,
mm.
if I see him, I'm like, even when he does racing, I'm standing there. I'm like, get on top, like, like, and I have to like remind myself, like, okay, he's just
Your role is
learning
shifted.
and he's playing. It's
Yeah,
like, you know,
yeah.
um, but I have to remind myself a lot because I can feel it. I feel like the competitive thing in me and like living through him, and I'm like red
I
flags all
know.
over.
I
It's so
know.
like tempting.
It's the same. Matthew goes to Maximilian Jiu-Jitsu for his gi classes, and from the beginning, I would sit on the side and watch and be like, just do that, just go.
Mhm.
And I would want to go onto the mat to fix it,
Yeah,
but you have to accept that your role is not as coach in that moment, and that you have to sit back and let the coaches do what they're doing,
exactly.
even if you're a higher belt than them
Even
or
if you
more
know more.
experienced or anything along that. Your role is to sit back and let the coaches do the
Yes,
work.
yeah. I mean, that's like the number one irritant for me is like when I'm coaching, not even just kids, just in general, and someone's not letting me
It's
coach.
side coaching.
I'm just like, then you do it.
Yeah.
You teach it, and then
Yes.
I'll just step back, and you
Yeah.
can just pay me, and I'll just watch you coach.
And what's worse is parents who don't have any understanding of what it takes to coach a student or a child or
Mhm.
anyone for that matter, typing or
Yeah, no,
coaching from the side or something along those lines. It you're setting up your kid for failure.
yeah, 100%. And it's just for me at least, it feels like so much more pressure. Like when you got the coach trying to show you something, and then your parent is there or like whoever else is on the side like also giving you that pressure,
Mm,
it feels like you're in a competition like straight
mm.
away and you're just trying to like learn and have fun.
And how must the kid know who to actually listen to?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is like that's what I said to Laura about Mateo starting like martial arts and stuff, is that if he does it, I don't want to be the coach because he has to listen to me at home and he has to listen to me there, and I'm correcting him at home and correcting him. It's like I'm always like on him,
Mm,
and like at what point do we have like a relationship of like father and son where
yes.
it's not like just coach all the time?
Yeah.
Because you know, like um, I obviously it's Instagram, so like I read something on Instagram saying that like your kids' first like 5 years is like all about like training them like discipline and getting them like in order, and then from there it's like all about like teaching them like skills and stuff like that.
Refining.
Exactly.
Mm,
So like for the first, he's going to be 5 in August, so um, for this first 5 years, I'm just like trying to get him to like not be an asshole and just like be cool, and then we'll like learn like all the cool
That will
skills.
continue until he's an adult,
Yeah, and then he becomes a
basically.
teenager and becomes an asshole again.
Yeah,
Like start back at the beginning.
yeah,
Um, I mean, yeah, like for for everyone, obviously we kind of just jump straight into the podcast here, but for anyone that like doesn't know who you are and like what you do, do you want to just maybe give a quick rundown?
yeah. Okay, so Kerry-Anne Mathieson, and I've been in Jiu-Jitsu specifically for 16 years now. I started in 2010. Um, and before that, as a kid, I'd always had a very strong interest in anything martial arts. I wanted to be an MTN gladiator. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then I would sneak into, because I was not allowed to do martial arts, because
Not really.
I grew up in quite a staunch Christian home.
Okay,
And
conservative.
yeah, very conservative, and there wasn't much information available about what martial arts was. So it was Eastern and very much an unknown kind of practice. And it had quite a negative association towards the practices, including yoga. Like anything that was Eastern was,
There's like a religious attachment to some of the stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but I loved it. So I would sneak into my classmates or my best friends' judo classes after school, and I would grab whatever gi was there and whatever belt was lying there, and I'll just participate in the class.
That's cool.
And for the longest time, I think it was when it came up to doing grading, they realized I wasn't a paying student. So
Funny
then,
how that works.
yeah, and then they were like, "Well, your parents need to know that you're here and that you're doing this." And then when I actually asked, it was just a no,
Sure.
can't do it. So then I would sneak in every now and again and participate in judo. And I think I was must have been about 7 or 8 years old, so grade 1 and 2, doing judo on the sly. And yeah, so that was where I kind of got this love for physical and combat activities. And then in around, I think it was 2019, August 2019, I watched on YouTube Chris Cyborg, Gina Carano doing MMA and Strikeforce. And I was like, this like ticks all the boxes for everything that I want to do.
2009.
Was it 2009? No, 2019. Yeah,
Yeah, 2009.
2009. Yeah.
I was like, wait,
Wait,
2019, she was in
wait.
the
That was
UFC.
just the other day.
Yeah, she was in the UFC. 2009, yeah.
2009. Yeah. And
Yeah, that's when I first started watching like MMA as well. I was doing Muay
yes,
Thai, and I was like,
yes.
oh, MMA is like this thing.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, these guys suck.
yeah.
They can't strike.
No. But yeah, so 2009, and I think it was around August, found this video on YouTube, and I was like, that looks so cool. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to do that. And it wasn't the striking, it wasn't the grappling, it wasn't anything that particularly stood out for me. It was just combat. And so then went on Facebook because there wasn't much, I don't think Instagram even existed back then. And went on Facebook and was searching like MMA, Jiu-Jitsu, anything along those things. And I found Rio Grappling Springs because I was in Joburg at the time. And they had posted about MMA classes, beginner MMA classes.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I've got to do this. Reached out.
Got you with real grappling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I went to first class and they were like, well, if you want to do MMA, you have to do jiu-jitsu first. So I was like, okay. And yeah, one session and I was like, I'm hooked, absolutely hooked. And then, so from that point in time, I was doing MMA, and that was wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, striking, Muay Thai, kickboxing, all of it for the longest time.
Whole shebang.
Yeah, everything all at once. But what really stuck for me was definitely the jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So came 2010, I was training jiu-jitsu pretty much every day. And then realized there's like no woman doing the sport. So I think that's where the majority of my injuries originated, was from training with men twice my size, much stronger. They had no experience training with women either. So they had no benchmark for how do you roll with a woman? How do you hold back? How do you apply pressure in the right place? How do you not hurt them but still challenge them? Yeah. So it was very difficult. And I didn't realize at the time. I was just balls to the walls, just go.
Yeah. That time as well, everyone's just like, just go hard.
Just go hard.
Smash,
there was no
culture,
theory and no culture.
culture around
Yes.
martial arts. It was
Yeah.
just like fighting.
Yeah. And we're training in this dingy gym with like old top mats that were like ripped and torn. Everything smelled disgusting.
Yeah.
But like it
Staph
was,
infections.
yeah,
Yeah.
but rife.
Yeah.
But it is what it was. And I think I joined jiu-jitsu at the right moment. Um, so I've had the blessing in a way of seeing the sport evolve in South Africa from no woman. There was like Jess Hill in
Yeah.
Joburg
Yeah.
and Danila Lasov
Yeah. Yeah.
and
The physio
psychiatrist.
psychiatrist. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
She's from the EFC, right?
She fought in
Yes.
EFC. Yeah, she
I think
did. I
she's like a
think she,
massive like proponent of women in MMA now.
yes.
It's like her like
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
She's not fighting anymore, but I think yeah, in when she was very active in promoting women in sports. And I think she was the first female in EFC.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So no woman.
Uh-huh.
There were less than 5 in the country that I knew of. Some of them have transitioned from judo into other sports, but never really stuck with jiu-jitsu. So I had then had the opportunity to go and compete at the Abu Dhabi World Champs. I came from Joburg to Cape Town in 2012, did the Africa trials. I won there, then got to go and compete overseas. And it was only there that my eyes really opened to like, there are a shit ton of women that do jiu-jitsu. Why is it an international thing where girls just go and there's so many and they stick to the sport and there's black belts, you know? So it's not like a
Yeah.
new thing.
There's schools run by black belt females.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then so I got to roll with Mackenzie Dern. I
Sure.
went up with Penny Thomas, who was South Africa's first female black belt, and got to roll with a bunch of other women from around the world. And I was just like, this is so shit cool.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it was there that I met the woman who'd started Australian Girls and Gi and chatted to her a bit about it. But what do you do? How do you do it? Why are you doing it? And I was like, how could I do something like that in South Africa that would work and that would attract girls to enjoy the sport? So I came back immediately, started South African Girls and Gi on a Twitter account,
Yeah.
and then built a website. And then what I was doing was just literally Facebook stalking anyone who did any form of combat sports. And I was like, hey, do you want to try jiu-jitsu? Here's a gym in your area.
That's
Please
cool.
go try it out. So I started this database and we would like put all the belts up there, put their names, and then start sharing their content and that kind of thing. And then we did the first camp where we brought out Penny Thomas from, I think she'd already moved to Maui in Hawaii at the time, and she still had family in Durban. So she was coming out to South Africa every now and again. So piggybacked on that, and I said, please, we need to do a women's camp. And so we had our first camp, I think it was 2015, where we had the most women that had ever been on the mat at any one point in time in South Africa, and I think it was about 36 women.
Sure. That's not even that many.
That's not even that many.
Yeah,
But
crazy.
at the time, it felt like such a big deal.
Yeah.
And in hindsight, it was a big
Massive,
deal.
yeah.
We'd never had that many women training together at one time. So that was the start of it. So my goal was to create a community of grassroots jiu-jitsu where no one person drives an organization and makes money off of it and monetizes it. It really was about how do we just get the word out there that jiu-jitsu is a great sport and you should be doing it. And then providing the sport with coaching. And I think the way that it's evolved now is that we're no longer just a organization that brings out a black belt. We have black belts in the country that are really capable, that are excellent trainers, that are really great at building communities and training other women. So we're at the point now we've got a few black belts, lots of brown belts, lots of girls training, and we now host open mats for women to train at. We travel to different gyms. It's non-affiliated. The point is just to travel to different gyms and see what's there, roll with other women, get a feel for what it's like, because a lot of women, even now today, are not used to rolling with other women. And the stark difference is, especially for me, is like I'll train with guys and they're like, oh, you're so good, you're so fast and you're so technical or something like that. But then you roll with a girl and it's like it's different.
Mhm.
For some reason, it almost feels like guys are holding back, and I think they are. They have to. So they amp you up, and then you roll with the girl, and she's ruthless. She doesn't give a shit about putting on that armbar or choking you with all of her strength, because this is how she's training with men in her gym. And so she applies that same pressure to you, and you're not used to it all of a sudden. So it's so important for women to roll with other women. So that is the reason why the organization
Yeah,
exists.
it makes sense. I mean, that is a huge important like point. Like, um, I know like it's such a like a difficult thing as like a man. Like I never really thought about it before because I've always trained. There's always been like kind of girls in training,
Mm,
and so like I've never really looked at it from like the perspective of like being a woman going into a gym for the first time, or having to deal with like training with guys for the first time, or like having that like that because you want to have competition, but you don't want to have like a man going 100% against a 50 kg girl. Like it's not like something bad's going to happen.
mm,
Even like a 90-kilogram man with a 50-kilogram guy, like there has to be some level of like
control.
constraint. Yeah,
Yeah.
otherwise like someone's going to get hurt.
Mm.
We know he's going to get hurt, you know.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but then there's that fine line of like, okay, are you just going to like lie there and like do nothing, and they're not going to get any benefit of it, which is like what you're saying now. It's like you don't really know how good you are because you don't know if someone's really trying or
Mm,
if like they're letting you work.
mm,
Um, and the first time that I sort of like saw it from the other side was when my wife started training, and I was like, oh shit, because okay, so when I was in Joburg, and I was training with Richie, there was like 3 or 4 of us, and we were like the massive forces.
yes.
You always have that in a gym, right?
Yeah.
And so like we would always when we would have open mats when anyone could come and train, we would always like keep a lookout for like the guys, like especially like other black belts and stuff that would come into the gym. They were going like really hard with like a blue belt, or so we'd always just go there like crush them, put them in
Mm,
their place, just to like
yeah. Show them who you are.
yeah. And then when my wife and I started seeing each other, and she'd be like, "Yo, like I roll so cuck," and I'm like, "Sure, I've never really noticed that because like you don't really know."
Mm,
And then you realize, oh, but for you that is like a cuck roll
mm,
because obviously, you're a white belt, female. He's like a 65 kg blue belt. It's like, competitive. Most of them did MMA. So
mm.
like,
It's a very
it,
different style.
it's such a different style because everything's like life or death, you
Mm-hmm.
know? Um, and then I started like thinking like, shit, what is it actually like to be a woman on the mat for like your first time rolling against like a man and vice versa? Like, what is it like for a guy to roll with a woman for the first time and like know what the sort of like etiquette is?
Yeah.
Like how hard can I go? How much resistance can I give? How much pressure can I give? Um, where can I put my hands? Like it's an awkward conversation, but like that is the reality. It's like where can I grab? Where can't I grab?
Mm.
Like what is, especially like when you're training nogi, um, those types of
You
things.
don't
Like
think about that when
no
you're
one
rolling with another guy.
no one thinks about that.
Yeah.
And like I didn't even think about that until my wife started training because she would be like, I don't want to roll the guy. He's like fucking weird, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
he's a weirdo. And I was like,
Mm. What makes
am
him
I a
weird?
weirdo when I roll? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what makes it weird? Like, I want,
Yeah.
like, and then you think, like, oh, yeah, maybe it is weird. Like, you've never had someone like grab you before.
Mm.
Now you got like a strange dude who's grabbing you, maybe you get like a weird vibe. And like, the first time I thought about it was when she started training.
Mm.
And I like, now that I think about it and having obviously like the gym, trying to create the community and the culture in the gym that like doesn't have that.
Mm.
It's a very difficult thing because you obviously want a good level of competition,
Yeah.
but you also need a good level of safety. And then you also need to make sure that there's no sort of like blurred lines with male and female things. Because, I mean, as a business owner,
You you hear it all and you see it all.
fucking hell, like we've had situations with like coaches where we've had to like let people go
Mm.
because they're like getting too involved with like clients and
It
members,
happens. Yeah.
and it does happen. And then you see it now, especially on Instagram, like all the shit that's going on, especially in the jiu-jitsu community. Um,
Mm.
and I mean, having to manage that is like something that you never really think about
Mm.
until you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, did you ever like experience like things like that when you first started? Like not necessarily like the weird creepy guys, but like especially like knowing how to sort of, like I always tell her, say no to someone if you don't want to roll with them.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't have to roll with everyone. I don't roll with everyone.
Yeah.
You know, like if I see someone's being like a spaz, I'm like, stay away from me. I
Yeah.
don't want to hurt myself. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Me and Richie actually had a conversation when we were in Joe, because Richie was like how I am. I roll with like everyone, like white
Yes.
belts, black belts,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes.
It's like, um, but he started getting hurt. He was like, yo, that guy was a spaz, and I was like, because I was like an enforcer at that time, so I said to him, I was like, for the first time I roll someone new, doesn't matter like what level they are,
Mm.
that first minute I show them,
Yeah.
just to be like, that's how it can be, and then like afterwards it'd be like, cool.
Then it's chill.
Then you like drop it back,
Yeah.
and then like see how they like, if do they go back to that intensity or not.
Mm.
And that's how I used to sort of gauge. I would go like really hard in the beginning for like a minute and just be like, okay, are we cool? Okay, no, we're cool, and then like we carry on.
Yeah.
But like, how did you sort of manage that?
Yeah, I think that's a very male kind of approach
Yeah.
to addressing something like that. So what I found is I've had my fair share of like creepy guys, but nothing that I've ever had to really address or be concerned about. I think that when I started, because it was 16 years ago, we didn't have this culture and understanding and like this EQ around how do we behave in a jiu-jitsu gym. And so like you, I would roll with everyone and anyone, obviously because I was still fresh and new in jiu-jitsu too. So it was like you have an opportunity to roll with someone. If you don't roll with them, you don't get to roll because there's not that many people to roll with. So you just do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think again that's why I got so many injuries early on, because I would also go full pressure, go as hard as I could because I wanted to show them like I'm a girl and I can still do this. And a lot of the guys thought it was really fun. Yeah, pair Kerry with this rugby player and who's like 110 kilos and she's 64 kilos and it's going to be fun. It's not going to be fun. And just because I can possibly, outmaneuver you in something, even though you're new, you're still physically much more strong or much stronger than what I am.
Yeah.
I could never compete on that level.
And the risk versus reward profile there just doesn't make sense.
And again, because we didn't have the education around, it is okay to say no at the time, so you do it. And then even though you're knowing you're putting yourself in a very uncomfortable or potentially dangerous situation, you do it. Because your coaches weren't evolved to know, okay, well, let's not do that because the consequences could be X, Y, and Z. And I think that's why at the time a lot of girls dropped off. Because they would come in, they'd get smashed, and then they'd leave. And then they'd come in and roll with girls and then get smashed and leave because
it's getting smashed all the time.
It's not cool anymore. So yeah, I think that's over the years what has developed is when I am now much more educated in knowing that the most dangerous belt on the mat is a white belt.
100%.
That I can pick and choose. So if the guy is a smaller guy and he's a white belt, I will watch him roll with other people first and kind of gauge. Then I'll be open to roll with them.
90 kgs plus, it's just not even a conversation.
Yeah. And he could be less than that, but be spazzy, and I'm going to be like, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think the evolution is that it is okay to say no.
Yeah.
But I think the unwritten kind of pressure that's there is that you feel like you can't say no.
Well, I know, like when I started jiu-jitsu, I started end of 2010 to beginning of 2011. I know you couldn't say no to a high belt.
No.
You weren't allowed to say no.
No. You took the opportunity.
You had to. It was like frowned upon to say no. That's like what I was taught from my coach, who was from Brazil. So it was like very like this is
like a gift that's been given to you. You better take it.
I ask you to come roll, you must come roll.
Yeah.
And you just get like smashed by someone. Like, I don't know if you agree, but like I find like the more like sophisticated your jiu-jitsu, the less it works on someone completely spazzy. Right? So like if you have like a really sophisticated like inversion game on like 100 kg spazzy white belt, it doesn't work.
It seldom works.
It very, very rarely works. Just because their reactions aren't what you would get from like a high level person. They give you like spastic reactions.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't predict those.
So you have to almost use like really basic jiu-jitsu against raw people. Which is what I found like you have to do like sort of MMA grappling, which is like the rawest type of jiu-jitsu, because it's just like life or death. So whenever I've gone with someone that's like really crazy explosive and very spazzy, it's like almost always just like wrestling, get them on top and just hold them down,
Exactly.
rather than trying to like do like inversions and
Yeah.
parabolas and shit like that. We can get
Yeah.
like your neck cracked or whatever.
Exactly. They would end up rolling the wrong way and potentially like injuring you or themselves.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, I found the same thing. And then talking about the intensity of when you're rolling with someone who's new, for a guy to go with full intensity in the beginning to like set the tone or the standard for what they're in for is one thing. I physically can't do that.
Yes, yeah.
So in order to preserve myself for any training session with someone who's potentially new or spazzy because you don't know, is I really go in at a very low intensity so that they don't feel the need to ramp up.
Yes.
So I go in with the opposite approach. And if they're then going too hard, they'll recognize themselves, what the hell am I doing here? This person's not giving me anything back. So it's only then when that kind of switch happens that I can then build up the intensity. But I have no shame in telling someone they're rolling like a dick now.
Yeah.
Straight.
No,
I'll tell you straight. Just stop, tone it down 10 levels, and then we can roll.
Yeah.
You have to. And I think the important conversation needs to happen in any gym is that you can say no. You can say to someone that you're not comfortable with how they're rolling with you or their intensity or how hard they're going. And I think it's because we've been quiet for so long as women where we don't tell a guy, hey, like, just tone it down a little bit. They don't learn either. So they go into the next role with the next goal and they smash them.
Don't you think it like kind of like this might be like a bit of a stretch, but don't you think that kind of carries over into like just like life, like how a woman might not feel comfortable in saying certain things to like maybe their husband or like their father or like just a man in general, not feeling like able to like sort of speak up about like maybe something that feels like not right. Um, and I see it in on the mat, like over the years, how it's like too intimidating to be like, I don't want to roll with that person. And only like once you've been in it for 16 years, you're like, okay, no, I understand that, like it's okay. And it gives you that like sort of confidence to be able to do that. But a lot of women that start jiu-jitsu obviously don't have that confidence, or maybe something has happened where they want to start jiu-jitsu and need to build up that confidence. Like if you were telling a female to start jiu-jitsu, what would that sort of like process look like to you, or like that sort of conversation look like to you?
Yeah, I think that's I would start with the benefits of what jiu-jitsu gives to women because you don't typically understand it if you're outside of the sport. You think, oh, it's just like doing paddle, for instance. You're going to get great cardio activity, you doing a workout. But jiu-jitsu brings so much more to the mat than just physical activity. It's an emotional response. There's a hormonal response. There's a whole lot of things that happen that integrate when you're on the mats. And I think that's when you're trying to introduce a sport to a woman like jiu-jitsu is to touch on those things. So there's a community that comes with it. There's the sense of belonging when you're entering a gym. You're not just going to the gym and working out on your own and then leaving.
Yeah.
You're going there to go and train with friends because people in jiu-jitsu, what I found, end up becoming some of your best friends that you have lifelong. And it's hard to say why, but I think there's so many factors that contribute to that because you're going through this
hard experience,
a shared experience. There's also like the oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone that is released through physical contact, and that increases. And because you're going through this hard experience together, there's this mutual alignment of where you're going and how you do it. So, and I think that not just for women, but for men too, there's so many people in this world that just don't have physical touch available to them or a sense of community available to them. And for your mental health, jiu-jitsu is one of those things that really does check all the boxes. You cannot step onto that mat and be worrying about what's happening at work or my sick kid this, or I've got to present this presentation, I've got to prepare for this presentation tomorrow. You 100% grounded in the moment. And I think those are one of the rare things that jiu-jitsu gives you that I don't think any other sport can. So when introducing a sport to a woman like jiu-jitsu, I would say, just come and try it. See how you experience it. if it's for you, you're going to love it. It's one of those things where I very seldom find that someone starts it and is kind of on the fence about whether they like it or not. They either do or they don't.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I find like the only thing that really like limits them is like all the stuff we spoke about before. It's like, oh, they got hurt, or like people are too crazy, people are too rough, or whatever, and that kind of like pushes them away. I think another thing that people, or females especially, start jiu-jitsu for, or people in general, is self-defense. What do you think um like the realities of telling a woman to start jiu-jitsu for self-defense are? Like, what is the honest conversation? So I remember when Laura started jiu-jitsu, she had done boxing for 10 years
Mm.
and she started boxing for self-defense. And I remember having the conversation with her saying, why don't you ever do jiu-jitsu? Oh, I don't want guys on me. Da, da, da. And I said, but the reality is you're 52 kilograms. I'm back then I was a lot smaller. So I was like 75 kgs. I was like, the reality is that even if you hit me as hard as you can, you're not going to knock me out.
No, nothing.
Your mass isn't big enough.
Mm.
And if I hit you, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
If I grab you, it's going to be a
Even
problem.
worse.
And so I was like, the reality is all of that boxing knowledge that you got is, yeah, it's great to like know and have that sort of like skill. But in a real self-defense situation,
Means fuck all.
it means nothing against a grown man.
Yeah.
Against a grown man. I mean,
Yeah.
against someone maybe small, maybe, but against a grown man,
Mm.
all it's going to do is further aggravate the situation, you know?
I have very strong opinions about
Yeah.
self-defense. I think that what many people have done in the past is relied on that fear-mongering of self-defense to try and get women into jiu-jitsu. And I think it's entirely the wrong approach. I think that is a good business model to have jiu-jitsu self-defense classes, but the way that a lot of the gyms in South Africa, there's a specific gym that really promotes this self-defense for jiu-jitsu, like jiu-jitsu for self-defense, and like they do knife disarm, like and gun,
I know
and I'm
exactly
just
who you're
like,
talking about.
really? And I'm just like, the reality is that someone pulls out a gun at you, there's nothing you can do. If someone pulls a knife, there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is try and run away as fast as you can. There's
Yeah.
no way you're going to disarm some dude as a woman who's done 3 months of jiu-jitsu
Yeah. Or an
self-defense.
8-week self-defense course or
No.
whatever. And I think what a lot of people don't, as someone that like has been exposed to like a lot of violence, not just through like martial arts, but just in general. I don't think people totally comprehend the reality of like extreme violence, like real violence.
They haven't seen it, they haven't experienced it. And if
Extreme
they
violence.
have, it's still not the same.
There's either like a barrier to entry where they don't want to like go into it at all, or there's like a complete like reverse where it's like they start these self-defense classes, they get guns, and they like become like obsessed with the violence side of it. But my big issue with those things when they're like showing like a soccer mom how to disarm a knife, it's like the reality is that if I am on drugs and I'm pulling out a knife to rob you, and you disarm that knife from me, are you prepared to kill me with that knife?
Yeah, then what?
The mentality of like, are you prepared to put that knife into me and stop me, like physically stop me?
Yeah.
I know I've seen maybe a handful of guys in my life that are willing to do that, to like willing to like put you down properly. And I just don't know if the whole population realizes how like hectic
What it
that
takes
is.
to do that.
How hectic that is.
Yeah.
That's like a whole nother thing. And so trying to fill like people with this false sense of security of like, oh, if a guy does this, you're just going to choke him to sleep or choke him to death.
It does more harm than good, to be honest, because you give them a false sense of their capability. And so using the self-defense like draw card is one thing because it's an easy entry into jiu-jitsu.
Especially in South Africa.
In South Africa in particular. And girls, I think, a lot of the time are drawn to this thing of needing to protect themselves. But the reality is, like you were saying with the boxing, you've been doing it for 10 years. It's not going to save you in a situation like that where someone is definitely going to be bigger than you and potentially stronger than you. And, So that's for me where jiu-jitsu becomes a case of like it's not for self-defense, but in the if something bad were to happen and you've been training for 6, 12, 13 months, you a blue belt, you at least have
Something.
something. And I think a lot of the time where you would think boxing is a great way to stay fit, but also be capable with your hands, the majority of the time is that women who are victims of violence or something like that is often by their partner or a
After they
boyfriend.
put their hands on them.
The hands are already on them and you're often on your back. And then what do you do from there when you're being overpowered?
Yeah.
Boxing's not going to help you.
Yeah.
Street fighting is not going to help
Yeah.
you. All these really fancy techniques that you've learned that
Yeah.
they're not
No.
applied in a practical environment where
Like sport jiu-jitsu, especially.
exactly your adrenaline is through the roof. You can't think. You need to have a base of like integrated jiu-jitsu where okay, well, it's just going to come naturally. I'm going to triangle this guy, or I'm going to get his arms off my neck, or something like that. You can't rely on a self-defense course
No.
to teach you those things in a moment under stress.
No. It is very difficult. It's like even for someone like me who's done martial arts for my entire life since I was 5 years old. And I've had like a few like altercations. But even just the going from like being in like a public setting to now escalating to an altercation, that is a mental shift that you have to take. And for someone that has been doing it for years, um, it still is a mental shift that you have to take. It's not like it's just like this automatic thing that you do. It's like a mental shift. Okay, now we're gonna get into something. And if you've only been doing something for a year, like to be able to mentally shift into that place,
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's very, very difficult. I think that's so important. Like many people, like I do believe knowing something is better than knowing nothing.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. So just put that out there.
Yeah,
It is better to
100%.
know something than nothing.
And the most important thing to understand with self-defense is that it's self-defense. So you're trying to prevent harm. You're not trying to win a fight. I'm not trying to like beat the guy up.
Yeah.
I'm trying to not get hurt. That's it. And so as long as whatever you're training can help you with that, that's kind of all that you really need to focus on. So if you're doing jiu-jitsu for self-defense that you can keep someone off of you,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Amazing.
If that's your objective, then great.
Keep someone off of you,
Yeah.
that's perfect. If you're training boxing to defend so that you don't get hit, cool. But just understand where the limitations are on every martial art that you're doing. Same with like karate, judo, everything. Just understanding where the limitations are is really important. I think a lot of people don't understand that.
I think that the difference then is with jiu-jitsu versus striking arts is that striking, any form of striking, karate, boxing, whatever, it's about inflicting damage, whereas jiu-jitsu is about finality.
Yeah.
You have the ability to finish someone, put them to sleep, choke them out, break an elbow, so that's, for me, that's why jiu-jitsu is so powerful in terms of, like, I know that if I'm ever in a situation where I feel I would need to do something, I'd be able to make that mental shift and and jump straight into, well, this is life or death. And I think that comes from not only the time on the mats, but also having competed. You know what it's like when someone's really trying to hurt you. And even though the objective is not to hurt in a competition, that fear threat is there.
Yeah.
So you are able to make that shift into, shit, I need to actually really protect myself now. So I think that's the one thing that jiu-jitsu does have over other martial arts.
That's what I always say to people about like professional MMA. I'm saying like if you were going to say the best base for defending yourself in a hand-to-hand combat, getting to a level of professional fighting, MMA, because it's tested against another person who is 100% trying to hurt you and with the same amount of skills.
Yes.
That's probably like your best bet in like defending yourself in a real fight.
Yeah.
It's often people that don't ever compete, or the martial arts that never really like compete, that are like, oh no, that would never work.
It would never work. Yeah.
In the street, it's so different, and there's a referee there, so you're safe.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand is the referee's there to stop the person who's winning from killing the other person.
Yes, exactly.
It's not to protect them. It's like if I'm knocking you out and I'm hitting you on the ground, and you can't defend yourself,
There's
the referee
someone there
stops me to stop me from doing that to you.
Yeah.
And that's against another professional fighter. It's not because they want to keep me, the person who's winning, safe, or like
Yeah.
save me from the rules or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that's like a whole topic on its own. But
Yeah.
I really wanted to get into your book that you're writing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously I went through it, and the first thing I want to know is like, what made you decide to write a book?
Yeah. Um, I think so. The book is essentially about 6 months in the works, but from years and years and years of recognizing patterns.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think the what triggered it was because my stepson Matthew has ADHD, and it's a very different form of ADHD that my child Jordan has, and he's now 20 and he's a blue belt and he's doing his thing. But just from having learned like the differences of different types of ADHD, and then seeing that there's this benefit that the sport has for these kids, made me think, well, surely there must be more to it than just what I'm observing. So I started to do a bit of research and just realized that there's so many sports on the tables, on the table for kids to do nowadays, but it doesn't have a lasting impact
Mhm.
on their emotional development. So what makes jujitsu, in my observation, different? And then the research confirmed it.
Mhm.
So there's so much research that backs not only jujitsu but martial arts, and the research on BJJ is still developing because it's new. Um, that martial arts in particular really do help boys with emotional regulation and executive function, impulse control. So I thought, well, this shouldn't be something that I'm just am aware of, but not sharing the knowledge. So the objective of the book is to introduce this philosophy of how you can, from a systemic approach, use jiu-jitsu as a complementary treatment to what's existing
Mhm.
already. So how do we assist the whole family and not just the child with a pill, that then has knock-on effect at
My
the
ADHD is triggered right now with this thing flying
the
around.
fly. Yeah,
My ADHD is fucking realistic. I'm like trying not to focus on that fly flying
yeah,
around.
yeah. So how does it help both the child in school, at home, and on the playground? And I think that jiu-jitsu is one of those things that becomes a really great tool for the child and the family.
And I think, I mean, like you said, like there's research to like confirm everything you're saying.
Mm,
Especially with jiu-jitsu now, and you said it, like obviously it's progressive research. It's still going. It's
mm.
ongoing. Um, I mean, I've noticed like with my boy, who I definitely think has a little touch of it as well. Um,
Well, if you have it, the likelihood is there that he
exactly
has it
right.
too.
Um, I've noticed that like obviously with the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu, like his demeanor changes,
Mm,
especially like after the session, or the days after a session, especially if it's like a tough session, he gets like a lot of work in.
mm.
Um, I can notice the difference with him,
As a
especially just
parent,
just 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 in terms of focus, being able to like
Mm,
focus on something.
mm.
Um, which I mean, he's not 5 yet, but like still, like you know, you pick up patterns. Like I know for myself, like I was told I had ADHD when I
Mm,
was a kid as well, and then
mm,
once it put me on medication, my mom was like super against it, but I struggled in school because of
mm,
it.
mm,
My biggest problem was obviously like following through,
mm.
like handing in things on time, getting work done. I would always leave it to like the last second.
Yeah, you
And
need
try
that
like
that
I need the
pressure in order
pressure.
to
Yeah.
perform.
And I feel like that's what pushed me into martial arts,
Mm,
is that pressure of competing.
mm.
Um, I'm still like that. Like you ask my wife, like I watch like horror videos before I go to bed.
It actually calms your nervous
It helps
system.
me sleep.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it helps me sleep.
Yeah.
Like I need that like that not stress, but like that pressure
Mm,
to do things.
yeah.
Which is part of the reason I delayed doing the podcast for so long, because I was like, you procrastinate, procrastinate, procrastinate,
Yeah.
procrastinate, and I'm like, fuck, let's just do it, and
Mm,
then it started, um, and I can see it a little bit in my eldest boy,
mm.
when it's when things are like chilled and like whatever, and I'm saying, okay, do this, nothing happens, nothing happens. And as soon as you up the ante, then it's like, okay, get in, and it's like
Mm,
dialed in.
mm.
And I think with martial arts, because there's like that pressure of like competition, that kind of like drives them to dial in,
Yeah.
which is quite cool.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's why kids with ADHD and ASD autism spectrum disorder would thrive in this environment with jiu-jitsu, because it gives you so much. It gives you
I mean, the best grappler in the world is probably one of the most autistic people. Gordon Ryan is like,
yeah, absolutely. And Tom Hardy apparently is also
Mhm.
on the spectrum, and
Craig
Tatomic just,
Jones.
they
I
just
mean,
released that whole neurospicy Tatomic kits.
yeah, I actually did see that. Yeah,
It's very, very cool, just to bring awareness to it. So I think that what are the criteria that make a great jiu-jitsu practitioner is autism is something,
yeah, for
you know?
sure. Autism and steroids.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So jiu-jitsu for kids gives them a lot of the things that they're not necessarily getting in their normal environment. So physical pressure, kids who have some form of neurodiversity often have different sensory needs to regular kids.
Mhm.
And I say regular kids versus neurodiverse. They actually, for me, I think because there's so many neurodiverse kids that it's actually not normal.
Normal anymore, yeah.
It's just who we are.
Yeah.
We just have these different kind of needs
Spectrum.
in life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so jiu-jitsu gives them that pressure. Kids with ASD and ADHD often are sensory seeking in so many ways. So if the environment is very calm, and they're then not going to do anything because there's no pressure, for example.
Mhm.
So then they start to seek out different things that will give them that sensory input. So becoming chaotic,
Mhm.
or getting very busy, or becoming obstructive, um, or just being what one would consider naughty,
Mhm.
because they're seeking something from the environment all the time, and that then helps them feel better and regulate internally. Jiu-jitsu does it on the mat
Yeah.
because they're under pressure. They have to also solve a puzzle at the same time, and then there's this instant gratification of having achieved something. So often with these kids is they have a lower dopamine availability in their bodies, and dopamine you think is like a happy hormone, but it's actually something that is activated in anticipation of something. So that anticipation pathway is active all the time when you're on the mat, because you're going for something, and then if you get it, awesome. But then it shifts immediately, and then you're on to the next thing, and then you have to get out of this, and then you have to escape that. So there's this constant active demand on their brains and their bodies that really helps them to thrive on the mats. And then the after effect is that you see a child who's more regulated, who's able to deal with the stresses in life, and it has a lasting effect. It's not just one day or 1 hour after a training session, unlike with rugby, they go and maybe have the same kind of physical pressure and intensity, but there isn't this lasting effect because there isn't this puzzle, and the dopamine response isn't quite the same. So it helps them build all these executive functioning skills that they need, which is often lacking in a child with ADHD. They're essentially between 3 and 5 years behind in their executive function development than peers who are not on the spectrum.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I know from like when I was growing up, I was like a fucking like hazard.
Yeah, hazard.
Like a hazard, just a hazard.
And you get that label, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like naughty, disruptive, aggressive, like a lot of things that like you don't want your child to be,
Mm,
get into a lot of trouble all the
mm,
time. And then once I obviously started martial arts, I had this like hyper fixation on like wanting to be this martial artist and like do
yes.
that. And that made everything else in my life like better
Mm.
because I was like,
You're getting the sensory input that you need.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I had like this, I know like I started with, well, I started karate and judo when I was like a kid, did that until like 13, and I started Muay Thai at 14.
Mm.
And so um, when I started Muay Thai and having that like physical like fighting thing that you get, which is what like I kind of was craving,
Mm.
almost like not it's hard to say. It's not like not like wanting to be hurt, but almost like enjoying like
Yes.
that
Yep.
like getting hits and like hitting someone
Mm-hmm.
back and like feeling that.
Mm.
Um, that very much was like what appealed to me the
It
most.
often happens because, again, your sense, like kids at that age or anyone with ADHD, is seeking sensory input.
Mhm.
And that can sometimes mean that you're oversensitive to touch, like, and you might have a strong reaction to that, or you need extra touch. So that sensory seeking thing is 100% why
There's
martial
usually like a
arts
high
works
pain threshold thing as
as
well.
well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that's why I think if you're on the spectrum in some way or another, it makes you an incredible martial artist because you're able to problem solve, think very quickly. You can see patterns, pattern recognition, and because of that need for pressure to perform, you just thrive in that environment. You need that stress to perform. It literally switches everything on in your brain, and you can hyper focus on
And
the
it's
moment.
amazing because in every fight that I've ever had, where it was like the person was so dangerous, or like I perceived the person as being really dangerous, and I could really get hurt, were the best times I performed. Because that that real sense of threat like made me go like click on and just like have laser focus.
Yeah.
But then when I was like a person, I was like, he's not that good. You know, then you fight shit because you're just like, you're not, I'm like kind of like, I'm hearing the commentators, I'm hearing like my coach in the corner, I'm hearing his coach in the corner, I'm hearing like all this shit going on at the same time, and you're not like dialed in. But when someone's like a real threat, the only thing you focus on is just like that. It's just like every single little movement that they make, every single like gesture they make, every like feint, every single thing.
Yeah.
I remember like some of my fights, I could, it sounds crazy, but I could hear the person's like breath rate.
Yeah.
I could like hear like, okay, they you know, like before someone does something, like I could like hear that, so like I knew it was coming. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a very weird thing to try and explain to someone that doesn't fight,
Yeah.
or
But
like maybe
also
doesn't.
for someone who's not on the who's
Yeah,
not neurodiverse, because I also have ADHD, and it's crazy the things that you recognize that other people don't.
yeah,
The way something smells, or the way it sounds, or pattern recognition, like you say, and that becomes an asset in martial arts, like you say, like
absolutely.
being able to just tell that, okay, this is now shifting, and this equals that,
Yeah,
and then you know what to do.
yeah. I just obviously like you now in hindsight, like would be great to have had some sort of guidance with that to like learn how to nurture it or like help manage it rather than just be like, oh, I had an off day, you know, oh, I had a really good day. I wonder what I did differently. And obviously now in hindsight, you look back and like, oh, it's because I was terrified of that person. I thought they were gonna knock me out. So I'm like, I was like so dialed in.
Yeah.
And then you think, oh, that guy I thought was a joke. So I played around a little bit. I fucked around.
And that's what happens with kids on, when they go into training a lot as well. They'll go in to a training session, and that's why it's important to keep training fun for kids, which is, I think, what I focus on in the book, is that just getting them onto the mat is like the first step, and then this is why it's great. But ultimately, you as a parent need to put them in an environment where they can succeed. So stepping back as a parent, not getting so involved in playing coach and parent, and then supporting them through that to allow them to feel the pressure and then realize that not everything is a threat in life. So dealing with the pressures of being put in a choke, for instance, being patient in trying to escape, that then builds up their internal capacity to learn not everything is about death. But then when they are then in the environment where they've learned all of these skills and need to switch it on, they can do that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, the tap, losing and resilience,
Yeah.
which is like part of your book.
Yeah.
I think that's such a cool thing to teach someone that like, the tap isn't you quitting. It's you learning that losing sometimes in life is okay,
Yeah.
but going back again and trying it again is what actually really matters.
Yeah.
We're all gonna lose at some point in our life.
We have to lose at some point in our
right?
lives, yeah.
And oftentimes the adults that you meet in life that are like dickheads are ones that have never had like any losses or any like struggle or any like real pressure in their life. And they just are dickheads.
Because they haven't made themselves vulnerable in those moments. You have to be vulnerable in order to say, this didn't work for me, I'm going to tap, and then have the ability to reset, to recognize that the tap doesn't mean that you're a failure.
No.
It means that this is a learning moment. Let's go back, reset, try again.
I always tell people the reason I'm coaching the class was I've tapped more than anyone here.
Yeah.
I've tapped more than all of you guys on this mat.
Yeah.
And that's why I get to show you how not, so that you don't make the same mistakes as me. And I think that's such an important thing for like children, especially like my kids always like, Daddy, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do that? I'm like, I can't do that, but let me try, and then let's see what happens. And I try to like get him to do the same thing. I've never done that before, so let me try. And because that's oftentimes like a very intimidating thing for someone with ADHD, is like trying something like unknown.
Mm.
There's like I know for me, like I like new things.
Yeah.
I love to try. I
Novelty.
love to do new shit.
Yeah.
Especially something that like is potentially scary, as long
And
as it's
risky, perhaps.
risky,
Yeah.
as long as it's within my domain.
Yeah.
But if it's something like starting podcasts, which was very intimidating to me,
Mm.
it was like a negative feedback
Mm.
almost. Is that like something that like is common with like
Yeah. With
um,
kids with ADHD or people with
yeah,
ADHD. Yeah, I think that's so. First of all, there's this topic of novelty, and novelty seeking is very, very common with someone with ADHD because of the dopamine
mhm.
response. So the anticipation of doing this thing, of trying this new thing. So the thrill seeking, the perhaps risky behavior can lead to really negative side effects if you don't have a positive channel to kind of focus
I
on.
mean that would you say there could be a correlation between like kids that have ADHD and like ending up in jail, drugs,
There's a high correlation.
suicide, all that
There's a
stuff,
very high
all the things that
correlation.
like
Yeah.
we don't want.
There's a very high correlation. So because they're sensory seeking and looking for something to give them that feedback that's perhaps missing or that they can't regulate themselves, as a child, you see the behavior as they're naughty, they're chaotic, they're this or that or the next thing. The labels are endless. In an adult, when it's unaddressed and they haven't built the skills that society expects of you, yeah, drugs become something that are an easy gateway for them. They get not, they're also more prone to addiction.
Yeah, yeah.
So because of the dopamine being a bit lower, so overeating
Hmm.
as just the most primary like compensation for that. Then drugs, risky behavior, promiscuity, pretty much anything that one would consider like, hey, like just
Chill.
chill.
Yeah.
They'll dive into that and then not necessarily fear or understand the consequences of it. So that's why I think that building these kind of skills early in life, and jiu-jitsu is one of those things that help kids develop those necessary skills um, that are missing in adults with ADHD and that haven't actually
Almost like
worked
delayed
through.
gratification as well, right?
Yeah.
Like I see that you've got like the belt
The belt
the
and
belt system.
reciprocity
Yeah.
system, yes.
Which in jiu-jitsu is obviously like important.
Yeah.
Like would you would you want to delve deeper into
Yeah.
that?
So there isn't from what I found in all my research, like a framework that has been labeled and applied to what the progression looks like in jiu-jitsu. So I came up with this original model called the belted reciprocity system.
Yeah.
And it's really about, yes, we recognize that kids did get different belts, but the system in jiu-jitsu is different to karate, for
Mhm.
instance, where you show up, you attend so many classes, you
Mhm.
do this kata, you do this glamorous display of your technical ability, and then you get awarded a belt. It doesn't necessarily translate into the next belt. It is just the next belt. You just get the next belt once you've checked so many boxes. What I've learned over time is that with kids and in with jiu-jitsu, why it's so great is that if for you to be good, you have to be able to translate that knowledge to everyone else around
Mhm.
you. So building internal capacity and awareness around what it is that you're doing and how you're doing it, and then helping your training partner do the same thing. So you have this collective growth mindset and shared learning and the community experience. So as they go through all the different belts, white, gray, yellow, orange, and green and blue, there's kind of different developmental stages that happen at each belt. So it goes from not knowing anything, just being like really at the bottom of the hierarchy, to building understanding and then sharing that knowledge and then giving it back to the other kids and then teaching other kids and then getting to the point where they pretty much have encompassed all of the development that happens from white to gray. And the white to gray or white to yellow or whatever belt is just the colored steps, but it actually is an integrated experience that they have. You could take the belts away and the same thing would happen. They'd have this progression of development over time.
Wow, yeah, that's so true. So true. I think even in jiu-jitsu, like with adults, um, the difference between someone going from like a white belt to blue belt and then blue belt to purple belt, the the difference in like the way the person is or like the way the person deals with like stress and pressure and adversity, you can see it. I always say the hardest part personally is blue belt. It's the hardest part because you're better than all the new guys, but you're still getting fucked up by everyone. Like, and then people on your level are fucking you up as well. So it's like you're like you've just gotten like better where you're like not getting scrubbed by like literally everyone.
Everyone, yeah.
To the point where like you're doing well, but everyone's still fucking you up.
Yeah.
And it's usually the belt you sit on the longest, right? Well, for most people. Um, what do you think? Just to sort of close up, what do you think like parents need to know about their kids? One of the questions we got asked was if your kid has like autism or learning disabilities or is struggling in school, being told they're disruptive and stuff like that. What would you say to the parent about potentially starting martial arts and where to start? What to look out for in a gym that offers kids programs? Like, what would you say as a mother, as a coach, as a practitioner?
Yeah. So I think that with jiu-jitsu and trying to get parents on board, and especially if the child is struggling with something, the first thing you must remember is this child's probably heard that they're a problem 1,000 times, that they have this inherent belief of themselves that there's something wrong with them or that they're different.
The problem child.
They're the problem child. And the problem with that is that they then embody that label and become the problem child. Yeah. And so it's about disrupting that system. So when bringing a child to a gym that has some form of struggle that they're dealing with, it could be ASD, ADHD, ODD. There's labels that we could give them, like we could read out the DSM-5 and just check the boxes, and they would,
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but when they told my mother that I have ADHD or whatever the fuck they said, oh, if he doesn't go on medication, he's gonna develop like fucking borderline personality disorder or some shit like that. And like so like that, like my mom told me that when I was an adult. Obviously not when I was a child, but I mean that's like a crazy fucking thing to say to a parent of like a 5-year-old. It's like an insane thing to be like, oh, if you don't put them on this like drug, they're gonna become like basically like your problem for the rest of your life. Like insane.
Yeah.
And like when there are so many like of course like there's a spectrum. There are some people that need like full-time care.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we're not talking about like that majority or that percentage of people. We're talking about like the vast majority of like cases that get diagnosed as ADHD or autistic or whatever that aren't like needing full-time care, but they do need something else. And so yeah, I think like being able to say to a parent like you don't need to just rely on medication and just rely on like occupational therapy, just rely on therapy and all these other things. You could maybe just put them into a martial arts studio.
It might actually fix everything.
It might fix everything, right? It fixed. I mean, a lot of people might not think I'm fixed.
But you coped, right?
Exactly.
You made it through
I'm not in
childhood.
jail.
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? I'm not in jail. I'm a functioning adult.
Yeah, have a business, have a family.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Haven't done anything that bad in my life, and it worked. It worked seemingly for me and for you.
Yeah.
So I think that's so important to like let parents know that there is like another way. You don't have to just give your kids.
Don't just accept the label. So use it as a guideline for how do we address this as a parent. So you might be told that your child has oppositional defiance disorder, which is ODD. And then the treatment or the required treatment plan for that might be going to occupational therapy. But what are you doing at home that supports that child? And that's why I say that jiu-jitsu comes in, because it's something that they do outside of school. It's a different environment. It's totally different to any of the other sports.
Sometimes with the parents.
Sometimes hopefully with the parents. And that it becomes something that is applicable and has benefits, systemically. So it's in the home environment, in school, and on the playground, as I refer to the 3 different spaces. Because those are usually the criteria for how do we know there's something wrong with your child, is that they're displaying these issues or behavioral differences in home, school, and in another environment. So that's where jiu-jitsu benefits them across all the entire spectrum. So trying to explain to a parent how to get them into it or why they should do it, I think that's the purpose of the book, is to say these are the benefits of it, but then also have a conversation with the teacher, because the more people we can have advocating for the sport, saying this is an additional treatment modality that we can apply that doesn't require your child taking a pill or seeing the third different type of therapist, because the schools will advocate. They go to the OT,
100%.
go to the speech therapist, go to the psychologist, go to the social worker. They just layer on all these different therapists, and how is it actually benefiting your child? And I know that there is a benefit to it and there's a reason to it, but what are you doing at home that translates into all three areas? And I think that's where jiu-jitsu is great for them. So that is easy, understand the book. The purpose of the book is to explain to parents why jiu-jitsu works and why it's a good option for them, but then actually getting onto the mat and picking a gym that works for them. I think that obviously the culture of the gym is very important, and understanding that when your child goes in there, they're going to be nervous and vulnerable, and then having a coach that understands that not every child is the same, that they need to be able to go onto their level and give them the time to go and sit on the side of the mat and play with the ball if they need to, and then rejoin the class. Not every child is going to give you all their focus all the time. And to have a coach of a child that understands the needs of the child is very important. One of the other things that I would say as a parent is, when you're looking for a gym, is, are the kids happy? Are they enjoying it? Is the coach on their level? Are they working together? Are they, teaching the kids something that the kid is enjoying? Is a child getting hurt? Are they pairing them with kids of similar skill, ability, and weight, or are they mismatching them? And I think that mismatch often happens in a gym where there aren't that many kids. So kind of putting them in an environment where you know that they're going to be safe is very important. And again, and it's not important, but having a mix of girls and boys. I think specifically from my side, what I've experienced is that kids who are boys generally don't like to lose to girls, but then they automatically respect what they're doing a bit more when they do. So getting tapped up by a girl can sometimes be very, very difficult to process.
Yeah.
But then it automatically makes them respect the sport more. So a mix of gender is always very nice, but it's not an absolute need to have. I think that sometimes boys thrive in boy-only environments, and that's where I think that school has absolutely failed boys in South Africa, is that boys are made to sit and learn in the same environment as what a girl would thrive in, and their needs are totally different.
100%.
And we reward girls and good boys for behaving like girls and learning like girls, but the boys need to run, play, and be active.
And that's all bad.
And that's all bad. So the boy is then reprimanded for being, as being naughty, because he's getting up off his chair and then he's creating this disruption. And so
circle time.
We don't care about that in jiu-jitsu. We want you to be yourself and get up and move. And I think that's
add your
where
flavor to everything as well.
Exactly. And that's why we're having a coach who's aware of different kids and how they train and what their needs are. A kid with ADHD is not going to sit and watch a technique for 5 minutes while you talk and explain this. Their attention is going to be over there and over there and over there. So having a coach that's not going to say, hey, listen, watch all the time and reprimand them. They've been reprimanded all day at school. So having that freedom on the mat to watch, but also be there, because we know as people with ADHD that you are listening, but you're also watching this thing over here, and somehow it lands.
100%.
So having a coaching
I'm very much like, show me something once.
Yeah.
Just show it to me.
Yes.
Let me try it.
Don't explain the technique for 10 minutes.
Just show it to me quickly, and then let me try it, and then I'll come to you and be like, something's not right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why adapting your coaching systems for kids is important. So you can take, and I explained it in the book, where you're doing an armbar for mount. You can explain with words all the different processes, and that might work with an adult, and it might even work with a neurotypical child. But someone who's neurospicy would be like, I saw the beginning and I know the end.
Let me figure it out.
This in between part is what's difficult for me. So I say adapting your coaching style to start in the armbar, start in the end position, they will then figure out themselves what it requires to maintain that position, and then you can go back and show them the beginning
It's
again.
like the ecological approach that's super popular in jiu-jitsu at the
Yes.
moment,
Yeah.
which I think is awesome for advanced or intermediate to advanced people. Because like if you know how to do an armbar, you kind of know how to do an armbar.
Mm.
And I think like what you're saying now, especially for kids, like showing them the end result, especially kids that have short attention span, show
Mm-hmm.
them the end result and
Mm.
like, oh, there's the reward.
They'll figure out the puzzle to get there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially I would assume like kids with autism who like to see patterns and figure out patterns pretty
Mm.
quickly. If they see, oh, this is the pattern to get that result,
Mm.
they just keep
They're
hitting
going to
that
keep
over
going.
and over. Yeah.
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 Exactly.
And that's awesome. Kerry, when are we gonna have this book out? Ready?
So it's pretty much in its final draft, and I'm basically collecting more stories for the story on the mat pieces. I've had some really awesome contributions from friends whose children have done judo. The one is a childhood friend of mine whose son is now 18, and he's in the Commonwealth for judo, and he's doing exceptionally well. Had all these same struggles that I talk about, anger, impulse control, all of that. So getting these stories, I think, have been a big part of what makes this book important, but also tangible for other parents. Because I can talk on the science of it for until
Yeah,
until the end of the day. But what really makes it land is like the stories from the parents. So I'm just in the last round of gathering quotes and feedback from coaches like yourself on what the book means and how to use it. And then your own personal experiences of kids or yourself with ADHD. And then I think that in the next few weeks, I'll put all those pieces together and I'm going to self-publish.
awesome.
And then it'll go live. Yeah.
That's amazing. Building resilience on the mat.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time, Kerry.
Thank you.
It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I look forward to having your book out and
we'll put some there at the gym.
pushing it out to every single parent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Cool.